Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Oh my God, so good to be here. Okay, just making sure we are live. Okay, that the chat is working. Oh, so excited to be here. And this is my third time doing a YouTube live, and I feel like I'm gonna stick to this. So if you guys are enjoying this content, I feel like this time, which is 11 a.m. for Europe, on Saturdays, I feel like I'll be going like weekly and sharing different topics because I'm so loving that. Last week I couldn't do it because I was in Barcelona. Now I'm back in Poland, so here I am. And today's topic is, do we trust the masculine? And in what ways does it show up in our lives? Does it show up in our relationships, and what to do about it? So if you guys have been following me for a while, you probably have observed very clearly that what I share is always influenced by my personal life. So there are things that happen to me or with me that I do that I realize, and I'm like, I want to talk about it. And this is exactly one of these topics. So it's something that actually I became aware of about 2 years ago for the first time on like a way deeper level, because of course everything has layers, right? It's like we're aware of like, maybe I don't trust men, maybe I don't trust masculine, things like this, but then you go deeper and deeper and you start like uncovering things. So I had my huge aha moment about 2 years ago, and I'll speak about this. And then literally a few days ago, which wasn't like a huge revelation, but sometimes it's like a tiny thing. Like once you've done enough work, a tiny thing is enough to just flip things. So I'll speak about this. So we're going to talk about all of these things. We're going to talk about why we don't trust the masculine and how we can shift this, and especially how we can shift that for our intimate relationships. But before we go into any of this, I want to make a little comment on masculine versus men. So everyone on this planet has the masculine and feminine energy. So as a woman, and for every woman listening, you have your own masculine energy. So when we're talking about not trusting the masculine, we are also talking about the masculine energy inside of you or your inner man. However, there is this whole idea of duality. So from a very spiritual perspective, this physical world is designed in a dual aspect. So we have the opposites, because through the opposite, we get to actually learn that it's one and the same and learn the concept of oneness. Now, a lot of it is like really highly advanced spiritual idea, as in we can grasp it logically, but we don't actually fully feel that. But when it comes to men, women, masculine, feminine, that's one of such play. So basically, even though I have my masculine, there is a reason why as a woman, I get to experience something very unique with a man that I don't maybe necessarily experience with a woman, even if I'm sexually attracted to women, because we have this polarity of energies working together. So there is a reason why you have all of these conversations of women step into your feminine, men step into your masculine. I like this approach that this is simply a role that we decided to play. So my soul decided it's going to be in a female body, be a woman, and through this explore the feminine aspect of duality. It doesn't mean that I am only feminine, that this is my limitation. It's just sort of like an agreement between all of the souls that together we can offer this duality, and through that we can understand really the feminine and the masculine, and ultimately that it's one and the same. So I will speak a lot about also trusting towards men, because men have decided to play this amazing role to show everyone on this planet what masculine energy is. So I just wanted to make this like a little note before we dive into everything, so we don't get like upset that I often will interchange masculine with men, but I will address the inner masculine in every person as well. And by the way, I'm having like my morning tea with you guys because it just feels like a very awesome conversation. I love my pure tea. Like I drink cups of day, and I'm fasting today. So this is what I'll be drinking while we're talking to keep myself energized. And teas are just amazing. If you guys are tea drinkers, like let me know. So let me start with what happened about 2 years ago. I want to share this story because usually when I tell my friends about it, like my girlfriends, this is when like you really understand what I'm talking about when I speak about not trusting the masculine, and in this specific case, not trusting the men. So that happened, like I said, a couple of years ago. I was sitting in a medicine ceremony, which was led by a man with the assistance of his beloved, of his woman. And in that ceremony, there was an assistant, a young boy, man, I think he was about 20 years old. So he was assisting, and his parents were sitting in a circle. So his mom and his father were in a circle. So we're sitting, we're going through the ceremony, and throughout the whole night, this young man had to take care of the fire. So he had the big long stick and he had to move the ashes every, like, I think half an hour or so. So it was actually a very challenging physical work. And I remember there was this one moment when he was meant to move ashes in a certain way, and he tells the main shaman, the man who's leading the ceremony, he says that um, he cannot do it. So basically the stick was a little too short and he couldn't reach out all the way to move the ashes the way they were meant to move. And if he wanted to step more towards the fire, then the fire was like in his face. He was sweating a lot. It was really hot. So he tells the shaman, I can't do it. And what the shaman says, with being perfectly steady, he says, do the other part now. So he does the other part. He's like, now do this again. And he did it. He did it. So there was no like, oh, maybe try this or maybe get a longer stick. None of this happened. He said, do this and again, come back to this and now do this. And he did. And what I was shocked to observe was the reaction of this young man's mother, meaning there was no reaction. I realized if that was me, if I was the mother looking at my son struggling, I would feel like, oh my God, look at him, he needs help. Like I would feel bad. I would feel sorry that he's challenged, that he doesn't know how to do something. And he's observed by the whole circle, you know, so it's like in public eyes. And then there was a second situation in that ceremony that also opened my eyes. So in the morning, after the whole ceremony, this beloved of the shaman's beloved, she was guiding a prayer. And she was sitting right in front of her partner, the shaman. And it took a few minutes. I want to say it was like 10 minutes, if not longer, 15, maybe even 20. It's difficult to say how time goes when you're in the medicine, but it took a while. And she was making the prayer and he was right in front of her and he was kneeling and singing. And when he was singing, like he was also using a rattle and his whole face was red and I could see the veins in his neck. Like it was an effort. He was like really struggling and pushing himself to be able to hold the song, hold space for her while she's making the prayer. And again, all she was focused on is the prayer, is the moment, is the energy, the words. She didn't even look at him, even though he was just a couple meters in front of him and he's struggling. And she didn't do anything. She didn't try to speed her prayer up so that he can relax. And again, I was looking and I'm like, wow, that is a huge lesson for me, because in both of these situations, I would want to assist the man. I would think like, oh my God, they need help. Let me do this. Let me make it easier for you. And this is when I realized that deep inside, I do not trust the masculine. I did not trust men because I believed that I needed to help them because they wouldn't do it on their own. I was so afraid that publicly they would fail that I wanted to jump in and help. And honestly, all of these moments when I would ask my former partners or my father, it's like, hey, could you help me carry this heavy thing? Because I couldn't. And I'm pretty strong. Like I work out, I'm pretty strong, guys, okay? And then I would have a thought, oh my God, what if he cannot do it? What if it's too heavy for him? So because I want to spare him the embarrassment, I will try to assist and help myself. Again, my teeth. Now, my recent partner got me into watching UFC. So these are like mixed martial arts fights. And once again, I witnessed in myself the discomfort of watching those fights. Why? Because you have two men fighting, meaning one wins, one loses. So basically 50% chances that you will lose, and you will lose in front of all of other people. So to me, I'm like, again, feeling so sorry for these men because they're losing. And I was like, and I asked some of my guy friends, I'm like, what is it like for you to watch it? Do you feel sorry for that man? And they all said, no, this is a test. This is a trial. Like, we understand that we can fail, but we want to do this to win. And this is the concept I'll speak to more about, because this is the core. That's the core of everything around trust. But I want to give you more examples of what I was doing in my relationships, like past relationships, because I feel, especially for women, if we have any women watching, by the way, just message me in the comments. I believe the chat is open. Chat should be live. So let me know in comments below who is here. Do we have any women listening? And I'm curious if you will be able to recognize those behaviors in yourself. So when my man would struggle financially or with his career, like I would try to assist. Like I would be like, hey, I'll show you how you can do this, because I come from I used to work with digital marketing. So it's like I'd be like, hey, you can do this and that, and you can do this launch, a funnel and all of this. And I would basically try like to show him how he can make money online. And I was convinced that I was helping, that I'm sharing my wisdom with my man because I care about him making money. Another time was when my partner would like not understand certain like dynamics in the relationship, and I'll be like, hey babes, that's just your limitation, like that's your blockage, you can do this and that and that, and we can move through that. And all of those times was because deeply I didn't believe that they could do it on their own. I felt that if I don't step in, he's never gonna figure his work out. He's never gonna see that he hit a blockage. He's never gonna know what to do, and he's never gonna do that. Right? So I'm very curious for all the women watching, whether live or replay, let me know in comments, like, do you recognize this in yourself? Do you recognize that when your man is challenged, you wanna step in to help? Because deep inside you think that without your help, they're not gonna make it. That you are needed, that you're essential, you're a needed element for them to move through the obstacles, okay? So this is huge. Now, the thing is that this strategy of like assisting our men and helping them out, it works. At the beginning, when you get into the relationship, it works because men are like, oh my God, she's so nurturing and so caring. So men welcome this. But this strategy only works short term. And that's what we need to understand, because in long term, it creates huge problems. So the first thing is, when you try to fix for a man his problems, eventually he will start resenting you. Okay, he will start resenting you because he will feel like you're treating him like a little boy, like you don't trust in him. Like he feels that. He's like, why won't you just let me do this on my own? I see it so much even with my father, like when I see his interactions with my mom, and like anytime there's something that doesn't work, like she's like, oh, do this, do that, and he gets angry because he's like, I want to figure it out, even if it's going to take me longer. I want to figure it out. Once again, this is the trial that boys and men go through, and I'll speak more about this. Now, the second thing that happens, apart from men resenting us, is that eventually we change the dynamic and we move from being lovers, being two adults, into a mother and a son dynamic. And no relationship will survive if you're in this dynamic. That's going to impact the sexual desire. Like he will not want to have sex with you because he doesn't want to sleep with a mother. And you will also notice that you will be more like taking over the roles of taking care of the household, taking care of everything, because you're like, I cannot trust him. He cannot do anything. I have to do everything. And then we step more into the masculine, meaning we step out of the feminine. So we step out of our ability to receive pleasure and actually feel met and satisfied in this intimate relationship. Now, like I said, there are layers to everything. So already for me realizing that, how much I try to assist my men, because really deep inside I didn't trust that they're capable of doing it on their own. That was the first like way deeper layer to my patterns. And then honestly, not that long ago, I fell even deeper. So I was doing this meditation, and it was meditation around abundance. So it wasn't about intimate relationships, it was about money. And in that meditation, we were meant to just allow the door to open and see the person we need to forgive the most. Now, if you guys have been following me, you know that I recently actually ended a relationship. And so the person who showed up for me was my former beloved. I saw him because we're meant to see the person we need to forgive the most. So I saw him. I need to forgive him. And then in the guided meditation, the voice says, so see this person you need to forgive the most. the person you need to forgive for letting you down financially. And I was like, whoa, suddenly my ex-partner turned into my father. And that shocked me, because truth is that with my dad, even though, look, we all have lots of drama to heal with both of our parents and all of the, people who took care of us when we were kids, but like the amount of things we all have to heal with our mom and dad, it's incredible. So it's not a surprise that there's something there. But what surprised me was that when I was young, I was actually raised with a lot of money and prosperity. But when I was about 16 years old, my dad went bankrupt. And I realized in that meditation, I'm seeing my father, and I feel this. I felt this sort of like anger. It wasn't exactly anger, but it was like intense emotions that are like, wow, you were meant to take care of me and you didn't. And again, when I'm 16 years old, it's pretty old. Like, I'm a teenager, kind of already living my life. But it was such a huge difference, because we were very affluent before, and suddenly not having anything, losing our house. Like, I moved out. I've been on my own since I was 17, and since then I've been like, taking care of myself financially. And I moved out. So I stopped living with my parents very early. Like, it's not in the Polish culture for us to leave household that early. I had to. So it did create a lot of trauma for me. And I didn't realize that experience made me feel like I couldn't trust my father, because as a father figure, he was meant to take care of me. And at that point, this is when it stopped, because he lost his money. He lost all of his businesses, and I lost my security and safety. And so I realized that, wow, I actually need to forgive my father for all of that. And the moment I realized this, my ex-partner showed up, a perfect reflection of my dad. The fact that I couldn't trust my dad anymore to take care of me, which was the fact. He didn't have financial ability to take care of me. And since then, I haven't really been able to rely on my family. Like they've been helpful, and like my dad, when he has some money, like he still supports me. Right now I'm staying with my parents, so like, I don't have to pay rent. So there's a lot of things that are being, like, material things that are being provided by my father. But it's not the same financial stability. Like, I know that if something bad happens to me, I don't have this cushion that, like, I could tell my dad, hey, I need your financial support because I just lost my money, because he doesn't have it, right? So I have this awareness that I cannot fully rely on him. And then I saw my ex-partner, and there was this big feeling that you were meant to take care of me, and in the end you didn't, right? So I'm seeing my dad, my ex-partner, the exact same story towards both of them. You were meant to take care of me, protect me, right? Keep me safe. And you didn't. You actually you created the place of no safety. I was scared. I didn't have stability. You took away, right? Like, it's not just like you were meant to do it and you didn't. And so, yes, when we talk about lack of trust towards the masculine, so much of that goes back to our relationship with our father. Now, by the way, this is true for men and women, because I'm talking a lot about female perspective towards men and relationships, but this is just as true for men. So men, and I spoke about it more in my video that would be 3 weeks ago about beta versus alpha male. And I talked about the relationship between a son and a father. And as long as this is not healed, a man cannot fully embody the alpha male energy. So he cannot fully step from being a boy into a man, because there is still resistance and resentment towards masculine energy. So understanding how we could not trust our father figures is essential for both genders to really be able to heal that. So like you can see from this experience that I had from my meditation, this lack of trust towards father is something that hugely impacts the type of men and partners that we will be attracting romantically. So if you feel that you cannot trust your partner, whether it's legitimate or not, go back to your relationship with your dad and men in your life when you were young, because our father is basically what teaches us how to relate to men and how to relate to masculine. So our mothers teach us how to relate to the feminine, to women in life, and our father teaches us what it's like to talk to men, what can we expect from men. So because in my experience, at some point, like, the trust was broken. I relied on my father, and then out of nowhere, I realized that a lot of things before were just a lie, and the story changed dramatically. So my story was like, how I cannot trust men. Men cannot be trusted because they can change like this, right? So I need to be on my own. I need to be taking care of myself. I cannot trust them. And so again, you attract later a partner who represents the exact same dynamic. So something for you to do, and I already want to share it here, even though I'll speak about how we can change these dynamics later. But something I really, really, really encourage you to do is to journal around this. And by the way, I was someone so absolutely resistant to journaling. I was like, I don't get that. I'll just like close my eyes. I'll do meditation. I'll be fine. I was like, why would I journal? I really didn't like that. And it's really something I've been just exploring in the last year in different ways. And I'm realizing more and more that there's a certain magic that happens when we write that doesn't happen if you're just in your mind. So yes, you can close your eyes and visualize your father and try having a conversation and try to tap deep into what can be there. But just things that come up once we start writing, it's a whole different story. So how can you write? You can start writing by, this is how I do it. I would either just express what's true for me, and then I will start having a conversation with myself, with the person that I'm trying to heal the relationship with, or with my higher self or my guides. So I would ask, for example, a question: why do I not trust my father? And I'll get the answer, and I write everything down. It's like, well, because he, because of the money, you lost all the money. Okay, but why is it so deep for me? It happened when I was a teenager, right? Well, because you were still very vulnerable and you were still relying on your father to take care of you. You still were not independent, right? There was still dependency. So it still happened in the time, blah, blah, blah. And you end up having a conversation. So for me, asking questions and replying to those questions, that's how journaling works the best for me, okay? Okay, now what I do want to talk about, and I sort of teased it at the beginning, is that, so, okay, we do not trust the masculine, and there's a lot of healing we can do, especially towards our fathers, to be able to trust. But there are absolutely situations when there is a reason why we do not trust the masculine, and this is important to address as well. So again, if this is something that interests you, I would really highly recommend that you go back to my channel and find this video, like beta versus alpha male or man. I don't remember how it's named right now, because I go deeper into those aspects. But the idea is that if a man is in the beta male energy, or if a man is actually still a boy, us women, we don't trust them. And likely other men will not trust them either. So it's essential for a man to step up in his energy. But here is the problem. Our society, the way it's designed, it eliminated possibilities for boys to become men. So when I actually posted that previous video, beta versus alpha, there was some people, men, who were very upset, and I would receive comments like, it's also okay for men to be vulnerable and to cry. You shame, like there's a lot of shaming towards men. And I started thinking about it, because I'm like, yes, there is such a thing as shaming men. Absolutely, absolutely. There is such a thing as not allowing men to be vulnerable. Still, absolutely, this is true. But telling a man that you act like a boy and you need to step up, this is not shaming. This is challenging you. This is telling you that, hey, you need to step up, right? You need to step up. Telling someone that you're out of your integrity and that you can do better, this is not shaming, this is challenging. And this is how men become alpha men, how boys become men, by being challenged. Look, traditionally, and this still happens in tribes, there is what's called a rite of passage. So a boy is challenged. He goes on an adventure. He needs to fight inner monsters, outer monsters. Through that, he becomes a man. And right now we have eliminated challenges because, oh, you're so poor, I'm so sorry, you're in pain, let me hold you. That goes back, remember, to what I felt like I would do in the medicine ceremony. I would try to help this man to build fire, and I would stop my prayer to help my beloved because he's challenged. But exactly by eliminating challenges, by thinking that we need to assist men, we're not allowing them to fully build their character. Because as long as they're in the energy of a boy of beta, yes, we don't trust them, and we have reasons for that. But we are creating this as a society. That's what we are creating. So it's super important that um, we become more aware of this. Now, I just wanted to address one comment. Robert is asking, where does the theory beta versus alpha males originate from? So it's not a specific theory that I shared. It's not someone's theory. Everything I share, all of my teachings, is based on tons of things I've studied, tons of insight that I've received through my spiritual work and my experience. So this is a combination of all. So I'm not someone who just shares a theory from a book. I'm someone who takes a lot of different concepts, mix it together, add my own, and I share my observations, what I see to be true. So let me just take an opportunity by sharing also that, guys, if there is anything that doesn't resonate, just don't take it. You may find that no, you just don't vibe with everything I say, or you may find that you're not ready to hear some of those things. Like, keep in mind, what I'm teaching today, I was not able to teach 5 years ago, or even maybe a year ago. And sometimes when I go back to like videos that I did a few years ago, I'm like, I actually don't really think that anymore. I've evolved, I've changed. So I'm sharing whatever I feel to be true in this moment, what's happening for me, what I'm observing. And most of these things, these insights, come to me from a lot of my own experience and just tons and tons of studying that I do, and tons of meditations and spiritual work where I connect to the divine, and I just get like, I connect things. And for those of you who are into like human design, I am 6'2", and this is a certain profile that we have, that we just get the information. Like we're people who don't necessarily need to study a lot, we just kind of know. So that's where the theory comes from, by the way, Robert, just to answer your question. Okay, now let me gather my thoughts again. To make sure to go back where were we? Okay. So yes, so like I said, we actually really need to assist men in stepping into the energy of the king, of the warrior, because that's the energy we can trust. Like, as a woman or as a man, you're not gonna trust a boy to, let's say, take care of the household. Like, they need to prove themselves to be trustworthy. That's the thing. You have to remember that we gain a trust. You're not born suddenly and people will trust you. You gain a trust. And it's a bit similar. Imagine you're in a company and you have this intern, and he can be great or she can be great. You're not going to give them the position of CEO, or you're not going to give them huge projects, because they need to first be challenged in the company for you to be sure that, okay, they can handle it. Like, if I see they can handle the challenge, then I can trust you. But for us to see that a man can handle a challenge, we have to hand them the challenge and let them deal with the challenge and not try to solve it for them, because then they're never given an opportunity to prove to us that they can be trustworthy. And this is now, look, now we're opening a huge rabbit hole, because this is a huge topic that goes way beyond what we're discussing in this video. So I'm just gonna like put some of it out there, and let me know if this is interesting for you, because we can dive deeper in any of the future videos. But if you look at the society of the last few centuries, women have been so hugely suppressed. And they've been suppressed by not being able to vote, not being able to speak up. Even like generation of our grandparents, like, a woman didn't get to choose for herself. Like, it was the husband that would like decide if she can go to see a doctor or do something, right? But there's also been way more intense than that. Like, women have been abused and raped. Like, we've been exposed to the shadow aspects of the unrefined masculine energy, the masculine that can be very intense, abusive, and destructive. And so women, not because we were not given the role of power for centuries. So what was the strategy for women to keep ourselves safe? Is by raising boys to become boys and not men. So the element of the masculine energy that is hurting women is the fire. The fire is your third chakra, and fire for men, for males is the outgoing energy. So at the level of the third chakra, men are giving, women are receiving. And again, this is a beautiful concept, and I talk about it often. I teach this, how energy between the chakras, between men and women, flows differently. So if we want to abuse each other, if we want to attack each other, there will be specific energies that a man will tap into and a woman will tap into. For men, these energies are very tangible. So it's raping, it's sexual harassment, it's aggression and beating up, and it's shouting. For women, the energies that we have to fight back, they're more intangible. It's mental manipulation, it's emotional smothering or pulling away love, and it's emotional bitchiness, basically, like being all over emotion, or like emotionally all over the place, or trying to shame a man for not being emotional. So now, for centuries, unfortunately, until today, women have been victims of this very tangible aggression from men. So physical aggression, yelling at us, rapes. So because when the feminine tries to fight back, she doesn't have the same power. Like it's a different way, it's a different strategy that we engage in. So what women started doing is raising boys in a way that they will not become dangerous to women. And so this is the concept of mothers emasculating boys. And I'm not saying this is done consciously. And I said, this is a rabbit hole, loves, okay? And maybe some of you guys are triggered when I say this, but I really invite you to just be open to this concept. The way that women raise boys does not empower them to become these strong warriors. And this is, again, about how we perceive fire in our society. So fire, if it's uncontrolled, it destroys, it burns, it kills, right? So because we've seen so many examples of unhealthy fire, we decided to suppress the fire, right? We decided to suppress the fire. But keep in mind that fire, when it's managed and controlled, it's very helpful. It can keep us warm in winter. It can also warm our food, so give us food. It's a beautiful element we need. But because we got so scared of the shadow side of fire, we suppressed it all. And look, for example, what happens these days when a boy is bullied at work. They call mother to come to school, and there's a conversation between the mothers, or a teacher tells the other kid, stop bullying, right? In the past, and really the way it kind of should be done, is that let this little boy figure it out on his own. He's being challenged. He's being called to use his fire, to learn how to use his fire, to stand up for himself. How are you expecting a man to ever stand up for his woman, his family, if he is never given space to stand up for himself in the first place? Okay, but that's what we do. So start observing. If you have children, start observing. Are you giving boys space to be challenged and to overcome the challenge on their own? You know, there are tribes that put boys through initiations, and these boys are like 8, 10, 11 years old. Now, look, there are some initiations, some rites of passages which are very questionable, so I'm not a supporter of all of them. But as a concept, it's a beautiful thing, and it existed for a reason. You know, it's like, look at all of these movies back from, like, you know, in times of knights, when a mother would have to let go of a boy because now he's going to be trained to be a warrior, he's going to fight. And he may never come back, but she knows that if he never goes and gets never challenged, then he will never step into a true man, right? So this is important. And in the past, women were strong enough to hold it. Women knew that her husband can go and disappear for a few years because they go out for a war, and she can handle it. Right now, us, like, if I look at myself, Jesus, I hardly would serve, like, I hardly handle a week away from my beloved. And in the past, it was years, because women were very strong, because also they had a very different connection to their own masculine, right? So because we weakened the masculine collectively, we weaken it in men and in ourselves. And so now, because this masculine, we don't trust the masculine in men and in ourselves, then we're not giving space for men to figure it out on their own. And this is huge. This is huge. Okay, so Mm, my tea is almost cold now. So let me talk about the last thing which I wanted to share today, and this is how can we change this? So, of course, we're aware of what's happening. How can we change this dynamic? Because this is a dynamic that really does not serve us, really does not serve us. And of course, this channel is about intimate relationships and sexuality. And like I said, if you don't work with that, if you don't learn to trust the masculine, you're gonna lose your partner eventually. It's a strategy that works in the short term, but eventually it will cost you your relationship. So what can we do? So number one is, and this is like I said for both men and women, look at your relationship with your father and heal it. And in that regards, like, if you've ever done any like therapy or coaching, like, you may feel like, gosh, why does it always come down to me looking at my relationship with my mom and my father? But that's kind of the case, because there's so much to uncover in our relationship with our parents, so much healing. So look at your relationship with your father. And like I said, journaling is probably the best, absolutely the best. So do that. You don't need to do this with your physical father. If he passed away, you do not need them, but absolutely just do the writing and see what's there. Number two, all of the changes start with awareness. So I just kind of this thought. You guys know, for example, that for Alcoholics Anonymous, the first step is that they have to admit that they have a problem. I have a problem. I'm an alcoholic. Only then a change is possible. So you have to admit to yourself, okay, if I'm really, really honest, I do not trust the masculine. I do engage in behaviors that stem from the idea that they cannot do it on their own. You have to be honest with yourself, admit the problem, and then only you can change it. Like, if you're not going to be honest, if you're not going to say that, yeah, this is a problem for me, you won't be able to do anything about it. Okay, now once you're aware of this, you want to start experimenting with this. You want to start like checking with yourself and controlling yourself of these behaviors. Now keep in mind that any behavior you have that's based on this belief that masculine cannot be trusted, all of those behaviors, like, you've been doing this for so many years. So there is a neural path for every behavior we have, for every pattern we have. So it's a default mode, right? To change a default mode means you have to exercise a lot of energy. It's a little bit like launching a space rocket. It takes all of this fuel, all of this energy to shoot it up, but once it's in the orbit, basically it goes almost in an effortless way. It just continues the flow. And that's how we change our patterns. That's how we create habits. At the beginning, we really have to use a lot of willpower, a lot of strength, a lot of determination, a lot of focus. And this is the struggle. This is the part that's difficult. And you cannot bypass it. Like, this is how the process works. Eventually it becomes easier. Eventually it becomes a default mode. So what happens in this initial phase that's really difficult? You have to stay focused on why you want to do this. Like, remember, if you really want a good relationship, you have to face this. And that's, for, like I said, for both men and women, we have to face this. There's no way you can enjoy a long-term healthy relationship if you don't address the fact that you may not be trusting the masculine. Okay, so stay focused on why you're doing this, the end goal, the long-term happiness, not the instant gratification. Like the actually something that determines our success in life is the ability to stay focused on long-term happiness, long-term fulfillment, versus giving into cravings in the moment, instant gratification. So you have to always be checking in with yourself. Am I doing right now something because it will give me pleasure now? Or am I doing something that will bring me closer to what I truly desire? And this is your willpower. That's your inner muscle that you have to build. And you build it every single time you manage to say no to instant gratification so that you can have something bigger. So you have to be aware that it does feel like stretching a muscle. It's effort. You're putting in effort. But remember, if you're not willing to put in effort, nothing will change in general in your life, okay? Now, in terms of relationships, if you're with a man and you've been noticing these patterns, that you indeed engage in these behaviors, try to really stop doing this. Like, that's kind of the core. When you're with the man and you see that, oh, he's challenged, I want to help. Stop, right? This is the effort part. This is where you're exercising energy and willpower. Stop, notice, remember awareness number one, notice what you want to do. Remind yourself it's the old pattern. Remind yourself the negative consequence of following this pattern, meaning he will eventually resent me. I will become his mother. We will lose sexual polarity. We will likely lose the relationship. Okay, so what would be the better thing to do now? Okay, the better thing would be to give him space to go through this challenge on his own. Now, if this is a new thing in your relationship, he may be like, hey, where are you? You used to support me. Now you not love me. You don't care about me. So his inner child, his boy will get triggered because he's like, you've been doing all these things for me. What do you mean now I have to do it on my own? So it's really good to have a conversation and just be super transparent and say, hey, listen, I've realized that on a deep level, I don't actually trust the masculine. And so I project it onto you. I feel that if I don't step in and assist you, you won't be able to do something. But it's really unfair of me because I make you smaller than you are because I don't trust you that you can be big. I don't trust you that you can succeed. And I'm sorry for this because I'm not actually giving you opportunity to really step into your full power because I'm stealing those opportunities from you. When you phrase it this way, it sounds very empowering to the man because it is. And so the next thing to tell him is that, look, I really want to trust you. Like I'm committed to developing this trust in you, in your ability to take care of yourself, take care of me, take care of our family, of our children, and our house. I know that you will find a way. Like I trust in you that you will find a way. Telling a man you trust in him is very empowering because now he's like, okay, I'm stepping up. I'm the king. I'm the warrior. I'm going to find a way. And here's the thing. He will find a way or he will not. Now, if he is someone who ends up really resisting what you're trying to do, and who is not stepping up and who is upset that you're not helping. And of course, that's maybe the initial reaction. You may need a bit of time for him to realize that things are changing and that he needs to step up. He needs to actually challenge himself to make himself trustworthy. And eventually he will understand and step up, right? Great, because now you've changed the dynamic in the relationship. Now, actually, he's stepping out so that you can indeed trust him. But if he's not, this may indeed mean the end of the relationship. But if he's not stepping up, then he's actually not someone you can trust. So you not trusting him is based in his behavior because he's not giving you reasons to trust him. And though it may be very painful, this may really be in the best interest for everyone to separate. Like eventually here's like this, if we know we're doing something that's not, like we're kind of playing small, we're being boys and girls, because again, that's true for women as well. Like 2 weeks ago, I had a video also about a princess versus a queen. So there's this whole idea of women also playing small. It's like, just take care of me. Like, no. We all want to step up. So we step up once we've understood that playing small and being this little kid cost us pain. Once we're desperate enough to change it, we change. So if you're with a partner and he's not stepping up and he's not doing what he needs to do for you to be able to trust him, maybe he's just not ready for this. And this is always very difficult to hear because as women, we're hoping that for me, he's going to become this alpha male. And he may not be ready for this. He may need to experience more pain. He may need to cause more pain until he finally understands that, okay, you know what? Yeah, I cannot be trusted yet. I haven't developed my character and my discipline just yet. But now I'm committed to do it. Because when you're committed to do that, you do whatever it takes to change this. So if he's not doing whatever it takes to change it, that's a sign that he's just not ready. And you not trusting him has a point. You don't want to trust someone that you actually cannot rely on. So that's super important. Now, like I said, it's also important about looking at the inner man, your masculine energy. And so one, it's the relationship with the father. One is the relationship with your partner. And the third is the relationship with myself, with my man, my inner man, my masculine. So how do we build the trust towards inner masculine? Well, first of all, by connecting to him. And again, you can do it through journaling, and you can do it through different meditations. When you just simply close your eyes, you go into the deep state of mind, and you simply ask for your inner man to show up. See what he's like, see how he feels, have conversations. You may realize that you like really don't trust him, that you hate him. There is resistance, there is like anger towards him. Be like, go away, I don't want you here. At the beginning, when I was doing the work with inner man, I didn't even see him as a man. I saw him as a deer because I wasn't able to see him in a man's body because of all of my conditioning and anger and resentment and pain that I felt towards the masculine. So this is definitely an interesting process to start engaging in. And then start having conversations with this man and use this inner man to take care of you and protect you. So you do this by keeping your boundaries, like become aware of what your boundaries are and really standing up for them. Like when it's a no, say it's a no. And by the way, you can say no and still be polite. Like I hate all this advice. Be like, if it's a no, it's a no. Don't push me. Like you can still be gentle when you say your no and be very firm. You don't have to be rude. So remember, because if you're rude, then your inner masculine is becoming abusive. So say your no, keep your boundaries in a mature way of the masculine, not by being the bully. Okay, you don't want to become a bully because that again causes more lack of trust with the masculine. But keep your boundaries, say no, and also keep promises to yourself. Okay, keep promises to yourself. That's big. That's how we build trust, right? It's like if I know I can rely on you, you're always there when I need you. So make sure that this inner man is there when you need him. Like if something happens, close your eyes, connect to this energy and feel him taking care of you and keeping you safe. I sometimes do it when I'm in a situation that makes me feel very uncomfortable. I'll just will call my inner man to show up on my right side, because right side is the masculine. Like I will see him stand behind me or even in front of me, and I'm just calling in this energy to help me feel protected and taken care of. And lastly, really connect to your intuition. So you build trust towards yourself by keeping your boundaries, keeping promises to yourself, speaking to yourself, to your inner child, your inner man, inner woman, and by strengthening your intuition so that you can actually say, okay, this is my truth. Okay. And through these different aspects, you get to build the trust towards your inner masculine. And the more you do that, the more you heal a relationship with your father, the more you learn to trust your inner man, then you will start attracting men in your intimate life that can be trusted, that can be trusted. So it always starts with us, right? If we're attracting men that are not trustworthy, it's about us. Look at yourself. Okay, why was I a match for this? If I want to stop what's happening on the outside, I got to change the inside, and you'll see how the men that you're attracting start changing, or the men you're with will change, or he will fall off for the new man to come in. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you enjoy this. If you have any questions regarding this topic, of course, let me know in the comments. Feel free to connect with me on Facebook and other social media. So you can go to Magda K Official on Instagram and on Facebook. I just love connecting and sharing all of this content with you guys. And also just I wanted to share, the lockdown has been a very challenging time for people who are in relationships and single people. Lots of people have broken up because of the distance, or because we finally get to see things that are not as harmonious as we thought. People feel really lonely because we don't yet have the ability to connect as intimately as we used to. And so these are really challenging times. And so if you would like to have some assistance and help you in your intimate life, if you want to attract a partner, if your relationship is right now facing some challenges, I am available for coaching. I do one-on-one coaching for men, women, and couples. And in terms of relationships, I work with all types of relationships. So if it's a triada, if it's an open relationship, I work with all of these as well. So I'm available to help you. I'm available to work with you. If you're interested, shoot me an email at info@magdak.com, or again, feel free to just comment under this video. I'll post a link if you want to book a free discovery call where we get to speak about how I could help you in a professional way as well. So once again, my loves, thank you so much for watching this, either live or the replay. And I'll be probably back next week. So if there's any specific topics that you would like us to talk about, let me know. comment, and let's see, because I also want to make sure that I share content that you guys want to hear. So anyways, have a beautiful, beautiful Saturday, and I'll be catching you soon. Mwah!